Hello, this is your State Senator Len Suzio speaking to you from the Capitol. I'm here as part of our series of videos that we're doing of people and causes and programs that I think are of interest to the people in my district. And today we have, I think, a very interesting person visiting us, Emidio Cerasale. He is involved and is very passionate about grandparents' rights. He's been up to the Capitol lobbying for some legislative changes pertaining to grandparents' rights, and there's at least two pieces of legislation that we're hoping will make their way through the legislature during this session. So I want to begin by welcoming you, Emidio, to today's show. Thank you for coming and joining us.
Thank you, Senator. It's good to be here. Thank you very much.
It's great to have you. So you're not a household name in the district, so let's talk a little bit about you, who you are, and what it is you're involved in and what organization you might have.
Okay. As you know, I'm originally from Meriden, Connecticut. That's my hometown. And I'm glad I'm speaking to my hometown senator. But right now I live in Naugatuck, Connecticut with my wife, Mary Ann. And I've been involved in the grandparents' rights movement since year 2014 because of my challenge with my one and only son with an intact married family. And what I'm presenting to the legislature this year is the return of HB 7244, a non-intact family grandparents' rights of visitation bill. Last year we introduced it. It got overwhelming support. It passed the Judicial Committee 41-0, which the Judicial Committee, was one of the toughest committee to pass anything. And it passed the House of Representatives 143-4. And then we had 55 co-sponsors. So it was a tremendously supported bill. For whatever reason, and I don't know the reason, that it went to the Senate, but it never was brought out on the Senate floor. Okay, be that as it may, we go on. And I brought it back this year for the short session. And as you know, you can propose a bill through your elected official, but then it has to be recommended by a legislative committee.
Right.
So it's coming back through Senator Kelly and co-sponsored by Senator Heather Summers. And from what I heard, it's going to be going to the Judicial Committee this coming Friday to discuss it. So hopefully they recommend it to go further. And we're praying about that because it's a tremendous bill that allows grandparents to apply for application to visit their grandchildren. Right now in the state of Connecticut, Connecticut Statute 46B-59, in my opinion, it's the most barbaric, archaic statute you can ever have in the state of Connecticut, and it's the worst grandparents' rights law in the USA. Back in 2014, I did my homework. I didn't know anything about grandparents' rights. I don't know everything now, but I know a lot more than I did back then. And it is the worst grandparents' rights laws in the USA. That's a fact, sorry to say. I wish I could say the opposite, but I can't. So hopefully this year, the short session, that it's recommended to go further by the Judiciary Committee and go to the House, and hopefully it goes to the Senate for a vote, because it's very badly needed in this state. I know that because I have this organization, Grandparents Advocate of America, which is a registered certified 501c3 organization. It's not only locally based in Connecticut, but it's nationally throughout the USA, and we have alliances throughout the USA. And I help people all over the United States. And it's been going on since 1980, this grandparents' rights issue. And
let me interrupt. So a lot of people aren't familiar with what the issue is. So maybe it would be good for you to explain to people watching. I'm a grandfather right now, and I'm not aware of any issues, so to speak. But you obviously experienced them, and that's how you became aware of it. So why don't you lay out for the audience what the situation is as it stands right now?
Okay. Say, for instance, that parents, whether they're married or intact, say to the grandparent, you're not allowed to have visitation rights to your grandchildren. Okay, plain and simple. It could be for a reason or no reason at all. All right? And it doesn't mean that the grandparent did something wrong. It could be no reason, like maybe they don't like you. Okay, so if you apply for grandparents' rights visitation in the state of Connecticut, you have to go through the family court. You make out applications, which you pay money for, and you apply through the family court for visitation. But in this state, as I wanted to do as far as know the system, I never brought my son to court, and I never wanted to. I wanted to find out the process. So I happened to go to a municipal court. You can go to anyone's state, get the application, and you sit down with a consultant attorney. And they told me, Mr. Cerasale, it's a waste of time or money. You have no rights in the state of Connecticut if grandparents want to visit their grandchildren. None and all. Lock, stock, and barrel. Okay? And like I said, it could be for any reason or no reason. Mm-hmm. Now, this is for when I mean intact family, that means a married couple. Forget about that. Mm-hmm. Because of the Troxel versus Granville law of the Supreme Court in year 2000. That decision was based on a married couple. All right? But in 2014, South Carolina passed H 4348, which is a non-intact parent family bill, which passed unanimously, signed by Governor Haley, and that broke the ice, so to speak, and grandparents now in South Carolina and among other states are now, through the application process, can apply for visitation rights to see their grandchildren. And it has been successful. And even the state of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Maine, New York, New Jersey have similar laws, except our state of Connecticut does not.
So right now, let's talk about this distinction between intact and not intact families. All right. So if there's, the law treats it differently depending on which status the family falls into, right? There's a distinction in the way grandparents' rights are viewed between an intact family situation versus a non-intact family situation, or is it the same? I was kind of getting the impression that it's different.
Well, it's treated the same here in the state of Connecticut, no matter whether you're married, intact family parent, or a non-intact family parent. Okay?
Okay.
And that's because of the Troxel versus Granville Supreme Court ruling, which was by the due process law system that looks out for that people are not deprived of their liberty, life, and property. But
Well,
it's
grandchildren
different.
have property.
Yeah, right. We can get
I
into
hope
that
not.
legal aspect, which is very technical. But being as though that the South Carolina law passed in 2014, it made history and allowed the grandparents to have some aspect of having visitation rights only. We're not looking for care and custody, okay? Many people think we are. We are not, all right? And this involves, non-intact families involve broken families. A parent may be deceased or divorced, or in today's world, people are living together, having children, or living in separate habitats. That's what this HB 7244 is pertaining to, not to intact married families. That's where people sometimes they get the opinion that you want to interfere with the parent process,
Raising,
out of custody and ownership, and we don't. We don't.
So how many, are you aware of how many situations are like this in Connecticut where there's grandparents who are being denied the ability to visit their grandchildren?
Yes.
Can you share that with the audience?
Yes, I went to the Judicial Department of the state of Connecticut, and I asked them for all the applicants that applied for grandparents' visitation. There was over 300 from 2012 to 2015. All were denied.
Every single one?
Every single one. And I've called every one of the people up. All right, and I had to take a sabbatical in between because it was so depressing, unbelievable. It's a very heartbreaking situation just think of it yourself. If you were denied visitation, how would you feel? When it happened to me, I couldn't believe it. It was devastating to me, March 7th, 2001, because my son and I were so close, could talk about anything, play sports, everything. Then what happened is that, come to find out, he had a mental problem. I never knew this. This kid was as healthy as can be, physically and mentally intact, save his own money, was economic. And one morning he called me, a Saturday morning, said, "Dad, come on down. I need you. I'm at the police station." I said, "What happened?" So make a long story short, I had to bring him to the New Meriden Hospital. He ended up at the Yale Hospital of Psychology. He had a mental breakdown. I never was told anything, and even though I was divorced from his mother, I always had a relationship with him and with her, pertaining to him as he was growing up. Always, nothing wrong. And to this day, I haven't seen my son since March 7, 2001. I don't know what went wrong with him, why they have kept me away from my grandchildren as well as him, except on March 7, 2001, I visited my grandson, my first grandson. As the first time since he was born in 1999, they allowed me. And I was very upset during this period of time, but finally I got to see him. And my son was still in recovery. He was on medication. I could see that because I used to be a nurse's aide for about 3 years. So I took care of people like that. So anyway, make a long story short, I stayed there for 2 hours, came home. As soon as I walked in the door, I got a telephone call. And my son said, "Dad, my wife feels uncomfortable with you here. You're not allowed to see me or your grandchild anymore." It was just, I just broke. I was devastated. I cried. This kid and I were that close. We could talk about anything. We used to go work out together in the gym, all this. And I was a father, 100%. Came from an Italian-American family. You know how we are.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he meant the world to me. And my world was broken. And still today, I don't know what happened to him, why it happened to him. And he's married. He was 28 years old at the time. They didn't invite me over to therapy. But the head nurse at the Yale Hospital said, "Mr. Cerasale, your son was sick. It's the right thing that you did bringing him to the hospital." And that's all I know. I don't know why it happened or anything.
That's an interesting story itself. But because it happened and because his spouse, I guess, doesn't have a good relationship with you, she's denied you the opportunity to visit your grandchildren, right?
I believe, in my own opinion, that she had a lot to do with it. I always got along with her. There was never no problem. I mean, my son sometimes used to consult me, should I, should we live with mom so we can save up money to buy a house? I said, "You make your own decision." I never butted in their business at all. And now I've been in the thick of things, trying to help other people. It's not about me, and because there is people that that I've been associated with, that same thing has happened, whether it's a married intact family or non-intact family, that they can't cope with it.
Right.
There's some people, grandfathers and grandmothers that have broken, that get depressed, and financially, if you try to go into court, there's people have spent anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000. That's a fact. I don't BS. That's a fact. It's a terrible situation, especially in this state.
So if a grandparent is being denied visitation rights, at this point in time, they have to go to court and ask for a court order to do so. And it's very difficult, if not impossible, to get that court order because of the law in Connecticut right now and the way it's written.
Yes, it's what they call a suit. All right, you fill out all the applications and so forth, apply for grandparent visitation rights. You go into family court, but it's like you're already against the wall, because I was told you can't do anything. They won't accept your application, and the judge just says, Mr. Cerasale or Mr. Brown or whoever, I cannot do anything because of the Connecticut statute.
Wow. So how would the proposed bill remedy that? Can you explain that to the audience?
Yes. The new bill, HB 7244, similar to South Carolina 4348, is for a non-intact family, a broken family.
Okay.
All right, where one of the parents has died, divorced, or they're living together, not married, or living in separate habitats. It allows them to go into family court with mediators to mediate the situation, to come to agreement, to possibly have visitation rights. If they can't come to agreement, then the judge has to make an agreement based on the evidence that he sees and he hears. And in South Carolina, it has worked. It's
Good.
like a balance.
So obviously it made it to third base last year, but didn't get home to score. So this year you got to do it. You got it in the Judiciary Committee. You've gotten involved obviously by lobbying. So you've got people watching today that might share your experience. How can they get in touch with you if they want to talk to you and work with you to try to get legislation passed? Is there an address?
Yeah. We're on Facebook as Grandparents Advocate of America. We do have a website, okay? And they can also call me at the office telephone number 203-217-5133. If they want to help us out, we can sure use the help. And February 27th, we're having an open symposium, open to the public, open to everybody, elected officials. We're going to have speakers talking about grandparents' right issue and the foster care, which is another subject. We want grandparents' rights first instead of grandchildren going into foster care, which that is a devastation here in Connecticut also.
And I'll just, because I want our viewers to understand that they can have an impact on the legislative process too.
Oh,
so
yes.
you've been up here lobbying, but you can go to the hearings. There'll be hearings. So I imagine you'll notify, if people are in touch with you, you'll notify the folks that are part of your organization and that you've been in contact with, right? So you'll let them know that it's going to be a hearing whenever it's going to be.
Oh, yes.
People can come up. And I can say, I just want to say to the listeners and the viewers today that as a legislator, we do watch who comes and what they say, so you can have an impact, believe it or not, on legislation. I've seen some very moving testimony that affected people up here. So,
oh, yes.
And this is certainly a heartfelt and emotional situation. There's a lot of potential, and the fact that it got to third base last year, there's a pretty good chance it might get home this year. So,
I sure hope
yeah,
so.
I know you're determined, Emidio,
yes.
but I want to make certain that the people who listen to this, who might find it appropriate for them to get involved, that they should be encouraged too.
Yes, I urge all grandparents in Connecticut to call their legislatures in their district, throughout Connecticut, to support our bill, the return of HB 7244, and also the Grandparents Care Instead of Foster Care bill. We need your help. We're on Facebook as Grandparents Advocate of America, and everything is posted on there. Whatever is happening, it's all up to date by myself.
Well, it's people like you that I particularly enjoy meeting, because instead of getting down about a bad experience, you're trying to do something positive and make for a better situation for other people, even if it might be too late for you. And I want to congratulate you on doing such, taking a difficult experience, a heartbreaking experience, and not just thinking of yourself, but thinking of other people by advocating for changes in the law, Emidio.
Oh, thank you
That
very
is
much.
admirable, and I tell the folks that I meet a lot of people that are very interesting, that I hope are inspirational to people too. And your situation certainly is very appealing to people, I think, potentially. And I'm certain there's a lot of grandparents out there whose eyes might be open that have watched this show today.
I thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And I just ask the people to call their elected officials and support us, because it's a travesty in this day and age in which the culture is
Yes.
with the opioid situation, the drugs and emotional abuse and domestic violence. It's very, very dominant.
Well, I do want to encourage all of you who are watching the show, if you are involved in a situation like this, or if you know people involved in a situation like this, I would encourage you to contact Emidio's organization. We could put something up on the screen that would reinforce what you were saying before, Emidio. And again, I can't overstate how much you can impact things by showing up here at the Capitol, like Emidio's done. He's taken the ball, and he's on third base right now. He needs somebody at the plate to bat him in, and I hope we'll find that someone. So I want to say thank you to all of you watching the video today. I hope you have found this to be very interesting and maybe relevant in your life. And remember, if you know of somebody in this kind of a situation, there is someone who's involved, in an organization that's involved, that might very well help you resolve your situation. So again, this is your State Senator Len Suzio saying it's been an honor to represent you in Hartford, and it's a privilege to meet people like Emidio and many of you that I've met as I go through the district. Thank you once again. Have a great day.